We are on lesson 1.3, textbook page 19, and we're going to learn about absolute value. I'm going to read the definition of absolute value, and I'm going to refer to it plenty of times. But absolute value is really pretty easy as long as you understand what absolute value is. So pay attention to the definition, practice it, and then try to use it whenever you get a chance in this lesson. So there's an explore activity to start. Finding absolute value. The absolute value of a number is the number's distance from zero on a number line. That's the definition right there. It is the distance from zero. For example, the absolute value of -3 is 3, because -3 is 3 units away from 0. The absolute value of -3 is written as, and then we've got these symbols here. And we read those as the absolute value of -3. So let me see if you understand what was just read to you. I'm going to go ahead and cover up some of this stuff right here. I'll bring this back in just a minute. All right. So let's pretend I verbally gave you the question, what is the absolute value of -3? Well, how you find the absolute value of -3 is you go find it on the number line. You put a dot right here, and then you ask yourself the question, what is the distance from this dot to 0? And the distance from this dot to 0 is 1, 2, 3. It's 3 spaces. The distance is 3 units. So therefore, the absolute value of -3 is 3. So it's not really about a positive or a negative, it's about a distance. How far is something from 0? So let's go ahead and keep reading. It says, because absolute value represents a distance, it is always non-negative. Now a lot of kids want to draw the conclusion that it's always positive, and it is almost always positive, but it's that we say non-negative because the absolute value of 0 is its distance from 0, which is 0 spaces. And 0 is not positive. I know it's a technicality, but still, it's true. So let's go ahead and do a little graphing and then find the absolute value. So the directions here read, graph the following numbers on the number line, then use your number line to find each absolute value. So it's almost a little confusing how they did this. They put all these numbers here. I'll kind of highlight them. They put these numbers here. And what they want you to do is they want you to graph that number, and then you're going to record your answer down here. So watch what I do here. -7 would be right here. And then I ask myself a question. How far is that from 0? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces from 0. And 7 is a non-negative number, so I'm going to record that as 7. And then I say the absolute value of -7 is 7. I'm going to do this all 6 times. I know this can be repetitive, but I'm going to do it this way anyway. Question B is +5, so it's number right here, +5. I'm going to graph +5 right here. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is 5 spaces from 0, so the absolute value of 5 is 5. Question C is +7. 7 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces from 0. So the absolute value of 7 is 7. We've already done that answer once before, but that's okay. Question D, -2, is right here. I put a dot, and then I count to get to 0. 1, 2. -2 is 2 spaces from 0. I am on question E. It is the absolute value of 4. The absolute value of 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces from 0. So the absolute value of 4 is 4. And the last one is -4. -4 is right here, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces from 0. The absolute value of -4 is 4. All right, so some of you may have noticed that we've got some repeat answers there, and that is actually the purpose of question number 1. Question number 1 reads, which pairs of numbers have the same absolute value, and how are these numbers related? Well, let's go find which pairs of numbers do have the same absolute value. Look at, for example, 4 and 4, I got the same answer. Well, what were the problems? Question E was, what is the absolute value of 4? And question F is, what is the absolute value of -4? Well, those got the same answer, and then it asks, how are these numbers related? Well, how is 4 related to -4? Those are opposite each other. So let's go ahead and list which pairs of numbers have the same absolute value. So -7 and 7 have the same absolute value, and there's one other answer. 4 and negative 4, those got the same absolute value. And when it says how are those numbers related, what are those numbers called? They are each other's opposites. They are opposites. That is an acceptable answer for reflect number 1. Now I need to make some space and move up so I can help you answer number 2. Question 2 reads, negative numbers are less than positive numbers. Does this mean that the absolute value of a negative number must be less than the absolute value of a positive number? And explain. Well, the first statement is true. Negative numbers are less than positive numbers. And it's very simply put, here's why. If this top line is a number line, and I have 0 right in the middle, and I'll just compare 1 and negative 1. Negative 1 is to the left of positive 1, therefore negative 1 is less than negative 1. And that's true. Negative 1 is less than positive 1. Does this mean that the absolute value of a negative number must be less than the absolute value of a positive number? Well, let's go ahead and ask ourselves this question. What is the absolute value of negative 1? And let's compare that to the absolute value of 1. Well, the absolute value of negative 1 is, well, it's 1 space away from 0. The absolute value of positive 1 is, it's 1 space away from 0. So what can we conclude? First of all, the answer is no, because the question says, does this mean that the absolute value of a negative number must be less than the absolute value of a positive number? Explain. It's no, because the absolute value of opposites are the same. Or maybe I'll say are equal to each other. Are equal to each other. That is a good answer for number 2. Hopefully you have something like that, and when you're done with this, you can move on to the next page.